Hey guys, welcome to the Canadian Spartan Ambassador Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Amber.
And I'm Jill, and we are ready to take you through some Canadian Spartan content. We are so excited to bring this podcast to you where we will discuss lots of topics Spartan Race Canada.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected for all our exciting episodes to come. Okay, welcome back to the Canadian Spartan Ambassador Podcast. We are at episode number 6, and we've got a really exciting story to share with you guys tonight. A few episodes ago, we had Leslie and Jonathan on with us, and they were talking about preparation going into the 50K Spartan Ultra. We touched a lot on nutrition and training and just execution. Now, we've got a fun little story for you guys tonight because with us here is Mark Steeds. And not only did he do the Ultra for the first time at Mt Tremblant, it was his first ever Spartan race.
Welcome to Spartan.
Welcome to Spartan. It's not where most people start. We're going to be completely honest. So we've got quite the journey to take you guys on tonight, but we're going to take it way back because he's not as inexperienced as I just made him sound. He actually has a background in running. So, Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your running background? Take us through the process. Here's what kind of got you up to 50K Spartan.
All right. So back in grade school and high school, I ran. Usually did about the 3K was my distance. Went to OSA in cross country. Came third in OSA in grade 10. Last year of high school, I decided to start training and running, and I came 6th in OSA then. I ran for Team Canada my last year of high school in the 10K. And I was at the Pan Am Juniors. I got a scholarship at Georgia State University, where I was an NCAA Division I All-American, came 11th in the NCAA 5000, and I was the All-American for cross country my last year as well. Came 12th in the NCAA cross country in 2008.
So he's no rookie to running.
And are your distances mostly in the 10 to 12K? Was that your favorite distance?
The furthest race I had ever run was 10K, and I was always telling myself I would not race anything more than a 10K because that hurt a lot. Way more to 30 to 40K, but not race it.
Amazing. And did that, being able to do the 10 to 12K, what possessed you then to sign up for an ultra race for your very first Spartan race?
Well, it all comes down to Amber and Zach. Zach wanted to do a 50K and he needed a partner. So he kept talking to me, and I kept telling Amber as well. I'm like, Amber, I'm just here to have fun. I'm just trying to train to get back into shape. And she pushed me, and this is a family here, and we do everything together. And yeah, we get pushed to our limits at this gym, and it's great. We're a family here.
Just so everybody knows, Zach and Amber owns, has a gym is it Brantford? It's Brantford, yes. Ontario, right? Pure Impact Athletics. And Zach is Amber's husband. So Zach decided that you would be his partner. Did you do a lot of training in preparation for this? Or was it just kind of like, I'm signing up and I'm going?
Well, I probably had about 2 to 3 months of training for running. I was running about up to 20K a day. But that race was definitely not for running. It's a whole different animal in itself.
Okay, so let's talk about this because this is kind of a fun episode because this is one of my good friends, and obviously I was along for his journey for the couple months of prep. And it was really interesting because people coming into Spartan for the first time with running background, they're phenomenal runners. They are very well conditioned, great endurance athletes. But it's really hard, or it was really hard for Mark anyways, to understand how little running was actually going to happen out on the Spartan course. Because I kept saying to him, like, how much running do you think you're going to do? Like, you're going up a mountain for 12 hours. So now knowing that and thinking back to hearing me say that, does it make a little more sense? Like, does it connect a little better?
Oh yeah, definitely would have prepared a lot more than running hill workouts, repeats, and actually having nutrition going into the race. And yeah, not just having a banana for my halftime.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, let's back that up a little bit. Let's talk about Mark's nutrition because I know a little bit about this story. It's quite the opposite of what I did with my nutrition. And let's hear how Mark went into his nutrition
Okay,
game.
so just to like pre-surface this, if you guys think back to our episode with Leslie and Jonathan, and both of them highly recommended that you trial your nutrition and you do a trial 50K and you really go into this knowing sort of what to expect. I think this is the exact opposite story.
I pretty much think that he took our episode and went, I'm going to do everything that was said on there the opposite way without knowing.
I think
Absolutely.
So what was your nutrition plan?
Well, I didn't want that much weight for when I was doing 50K, so I was limited. I didn't have the sack like everyone else had. And everyone's looking, where's your sack? I didn't have one. Yeah, I just was getting my water at the half, but I made a lot of great friends out on the course. And honestly, when you're running with all these competitors, they're like family out there. They all take care of each other. And it was amazing. I can go over all, like every single time someone would hand me stuff and they would see me. I had people that were running the beast that looked over and they're like, where's your sack? Because I had the purple bib on. I'm like, I don't have one. And they would hand me like the gel pack. And I had one gentleman, Lucas, hand me literally the gel pack. He goes, you're going to need this more than I will. And then I had another person give me a Cliff Bar. At half, I had made a friend also that gave me a peanut butter jam sandwich. And then he gave me a gel pack or a Gatorade pack as well for the second half of it. But going into there, I literally had a banana for me at the halfway house.
Yeah. So backtrack again. I did try and coach him for all you viewers out there who know I own a gym. Trust me, I don't just throw my athletes out on the hill and say have fun. But I mean, when you've got a stubborn athlete such as this, sometimes you just kind of got to let them learn as they go. So we did have conversation about nutrition, and he was adamant that oatmeal and a banana at the halfway mark was going to be enough. Yep. Now, mind you, if you were out there for a short period of time, that might have worked for you. So how long did you think you were going to be out on the hill?
I had no idea, and usually I can do 30K in just a couple hours, and you can kind of just tough it out. I did not expect to be over 12 hours. That was, that was testing.
Yeah. So he showed up, and the story actually gets better. So he shows up, he has no water pack, literally no food. He had a banana and a little thing of oatmeal in his bucket at the halfway mark, which we talked about in that last episode. For those of you who missed it, when you do the ultra, you put a bucket at, I think for you guys it was what, the 30K mark?
30K.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were able to, anybody who went to Mont Tremblant had a bucket for them at the 30K mark, and it had whatever they felt like they needed: food, change of clothes, water, whatever honestly you guys felt like. We can talk about what you put in your buckets after. So Mark showed up with a banana and oatmeal, and that was it. And to like preface this even more, let's talk about your footwear, because we also had conversations about proper footwear. And again, coming from a running background and cross country, most of that footwear is really lightweight running shoes or cross country spikes. So what did you show up with, even though we had conversations of suggestions? What did you decide was going to be your footwear that day?
I brought both my running flats, or lightweight flats, weighed about 8 ounces, and then I also brought cross country spikes without the pins in them, thinking that would be good. And I looked at the terrain, and that wasn't going to work. So the morning of, about half hour before my race, I bought one of their shoes and raced 50K in brand new shoes.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about that, because let's pump those shoes then. Did they last? Did you get crazy blisters? And would you recommend doing that?
Well, the shoes are great. I need them for all the hill climbing. It was pure mud by the second time we were doing the lap around. You had to have those types of shoes. And even for the water, like you're falling in like in the waterfall area. I fell in the water, and they have that spot where the water can get out of them. So I highly recommend you need those shoes. Running them the first time you run up to the 50K, that didn't work. I had blisters all over my feet, lost a couple toenails. Yeah, it was not pretty after.
And we're talking about the Spartan RD Craft Pros, I'm assuming. Yeah,
Yes.
those are a really, really great shoe. I highly recommend those as well. I've had many, many brands of running shoes. I find they're great for OCR, but you got to do them before ahead of time, break them in a little bit. But you had a different system. So going back to that system, what else did you think that what else were you sort of slightly underprepared for? What about the weather? Were you wearing proper clothing or like I know for me personally, I changed, and not everybody did this, but I changed at the halfway mark absolutely everything. I changed shoes, shirt. I just wanted to be dry for even 10 seconds and do like a reset. So how did that work for you? And what did you wear? What was your choice?
So I wore half tights because that's usually what I wear when I ran. And I did change that. I changed my shirt as well. But the one thing I forgot to change was my socks. And that might have been a reason for the blisters as well. So change your socks at the halfway if you're going to do a Spartan Ultra. Highly recommend it. But and then I noticed on top of the hill, it got really cold up there. We had the slight rain that hit us in the second loop. So I had a t-shirt I just would have to constantly take on and off depending where I was on the hill and the mountain area. So that's how it worked for me.
It's quite an interesting story that you would go and do something that big, because I know a lot of us, especially me, I'd done running before, I'd done a 50K trail race before, but I was on all the sites going, okay, what do these people do? Were they successful? I guess not everybody has that mindset, and that kind of brings it back to the whole Spartan mindset. And a lot of Spartans start out this way. To be quite honest, I've heard a lot of people who just jump into a beast at Mt Tremblant, and the beast is no joke either. Jumping into a beast for your first time could be a 6 or 7 hour race, and you might have run a half marathon. So I think it's kind of the Spartan way. One other thing that you mentioned that I thought was great, and I come back to this on our podcast all the time, is the community aspect of it. It's like you are making friends. You're not having any fun, but you're loving all of the people around you, and they literally want you to succeed. Every single person around you wants you to finish that race. So they will give you the shirt off their back or the peanut butter sandwich.
They do. Yeah. Every single obstacle together. Like I met all different people through every single hour. I was like chatting with somebody and techniques they did and what to do for each one. And it helped a lot. Made a lot of friends and add them all on Instagram and still chat with them about what races they're going to do and how their training's going. So it's
And
a great
so
community.
would you sorry, when you started, did you start out fast? Did you start out slow? Did you have what was the process throughout the race? Like I know you might have a pre-plan. Your pre-plan might have been something or maybe nothing, just winging it. But when you got to the halfway mark, going to the second part, what was the plan? Did you get faster? Did you get slower? What was the process?
Yeah, quite the opposite. I started out, I felt great. So I was with Zach at the start, and I'm like, I feel great. And I kind of took off and was running, was feeling great. And then by about the halfway, it wasn't a running course. It was a hiking course, and it hurt. It hit hard. Yeah.
I
So
mean,
I
the knees alone, I heard a lot of people talking about their knees. Just coming down the hills is a thing as well. So even if you're doing like stair climber or anything like that, there's still a down climb that happens. And I've done this to my knees before in a longer race because I like running down really, really fast. That's just so much fun for me. And I've done that in a longer race, and my knees have not held up after a few hours of doing that. So when I got there, my whole thing was protect your knees, go down the hills in a nice, gentle fashion. Were you doing stuff like that, or were your knees kind of toast by a certain point?
Absolutely agree with you. The first half, I was going down them pretty quick. By the second half, it was just protecting the knees and going sometimes even sideways down the hill. It's just take the pressure off my knees.
It's funny too, because when you are in that the race, and I know if you go back and do it again, which I'm sure you're going to, and we can talk about that in a second, any little thing for me that happened. So if I had like any little tweak or a hip, I was like, okay, I've got to run in a way to protect that because I could have 10 more hours and this just started. So thinking about that method of running, how will you do that for the next race?
Definitely pace myself out and go protect myself going down the hills earlier on stages. And just like you were saying, like when you're in the race, you're like, oh, this is the last time I'm going to do it. I'm just doing it one time just to say I did it. And then the next day you see all like everyone else still competing, like, okay, I got to do that next time. I'm going to do all the next time as well.
Yes.
Actually, the night of after the race, when he was barely moving much, and it was, I'm never doing this again. And I remember sitting there at the table, we're like, you're still in pain, like never say never.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, I don't know if it was the day after or 2 days after, but at that point when the pain had slightly gone away and he had watched the rest of the team race, he was coming back for more. We all know it because that's the Spartan way. You're in pain for a little bit and it sucks and you're like questioning your life choices. But then there's always this itch and this desire to go back and do more or do better or try again or try something new. And I feel like it's just such a culture of progress and it's just such a community to be part of. So I think that maybe played a part in like you coming back for more.
It did. And even running down at the very final and seeing my whole like Pure Impact team at the end, it literally brings tears to your eyes. Like I'm almost done and my team's here. They've been waiting for me this whole time. They pushed it through. Somehow I started running again and it's all on video. I thought I was going to last, but I wasn't. It's all good.
Making it off the ground, but barely.
And then,
I know. It's funny when you see pictures of yourself running to the finish line. I've had some of those where you think you're running, but literally it looks like you're walking, like your steps are literally flat on the ground. So I can imagine what that looked like.
And then every single movement in bed too that night, just hear the moaning. Oh, it hurts. And then we were in bunk beds. I'm trying to get down the bunk bed. I feel bad for Brandon. You hear every single step, like my ankle's cracking. I'm just moaning every step. My feet are like shuffling. And then I kind of had a sugar rush. I had to get some gummy bears like midnight. And all of a sudden you hear me just open the tin of gummy bears and start mowing down gummy bears at like midnight.
Well, you know, when you didn't race with a pack or nutrition, not putting a couple 100 calories in per hour to your body, you probably needed a ton of sugar. So the gummy bears probably helped. You probably should have had them on course next time, right?
So, okay, let's just shift gears here because we're getting deep into this now. But like we've obviously talked about how ignorance was total bliss for him in this like scenario. Like I've never heard a story of someone going in so unprepared with lack of amenities, anything, and pulling through. Like the guy not only did go in completely unprepared with absolutely nothing, but you managed to mentally pull through. So let's talk about the grit and the tenacity that played a part, especially once you got separated from your friend, because a lot of people that do longer distances for the Spartan Beast and Ultra will start, you know, with someone, because when you can kind of like take the focus off your own and onto someone else, I find, maybe I'm speaking for myself, maybe for others, I find it's just slightly easier to pull through because you're kind of forgetting about your own pain. But you didn't have that. I mean, you were able to connect with others on the course. Let's talk about the mental aspect here. From the 30K point on, maybe sooner, it was you, yourself, and I out there. So mentally, where were you at?
Just very competitive, and I love just getting lost out on the course and just literally when you're on top of the mountain, you're looking down. That's all you think about, and you just think about the next finish line. Like, and as you're going up the hill, you keep looking up. Okay, when's the next part of the opening? And the hill just kept going and going and going. You just push through because the next kilometer could be the finish. So you just keep thinking that. That's all I did. And just push through it.
And what's different from Spartan to probably your other races is there's no markers out on the course. Like again, you're going in very blind. You have no idea if, when, or how you're going to get this race done. But like you're probably used to markers, right? So you usually get that like affirmation that like you're making progress. You have this far to go, and you can mentally prepare for that. You can't do that in Spartan. So let's talk about how you dealt with that.
So that was very hard. Usually when you run a race, like if you're a solid kicker, you wait till the end, or like usually at the last kilometer, you know the race is that like it's going to happen anytime then, and you just got to prepare for that. With this, and you just get lost out there, and you have no idea. I know I kept bugging a couple people, hey, how many Ks we run? And every something different on their watch, just because of the altitude as well. So we just pushed through together, and then we did the one barrier that you could do. Me and my one partner beside me were like, we can't do it. We just went in our loop, fell in the water, and kept going again.
Which one was that?
Crawling across.
Oh, Olympus.
I couldn't do it. So me and my partner just looked at it. Nope. And went right for a loop.
So you made a friend out there. Who was your friend? Let's give him a shout out.
I made a lot of friends out there. It was good.
Did anyone see Mark? If you did, comment below and let us know if you saw Mark out on the course, the guy without anything.
I make a joke. He was like the homeless Spartan from Brantford. Decided to go do a 50K ultra, and it's really cool though to see the way the community rallies together, and like, because like we said, people in the sport want to see you succeed. Like that's what's very different. You're not competing against them. I always say, like, we're competing with each other. Like we're pushing each other past the finish line. Like you might be beside me, but we're pushing each other. We're competing with, if that makes sense, not necessarily against. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about OCR. And this is literally a prime example of the Spartan community. So if you're a part of it, guys, or you're new to this sport, like honestly lean into it. If you're scared to go out there alone, like prime example, you've got nothing to worry about. There's people
made it happen, and it was great. Literally, it felt like I met these people in my life, and they're handing me their Cliff Bars, their gel packs, and it was amazing. They're there to watch you succeed and help you.
Were you surprised by that? Because I know I had my daughter and her girlfriend were in the race as well. And they are younger, so they're 19 years old, and they were shocked at it. My daughter was a competitive athlete, and it just wasn't like that in the sports that she competed at. And she was so shocked that there were adults cheering and clapping when she made the monkey bars. Like, so were you shocked at that as well?
Absolutely. It was a great experience. And yeah, even the people like watching you do it, they're to help watch you succeed and do stuff properly, and everyone's there to help you, show you the proper way and technique to do it. Except I have never practiced any of those monkey bars. I knew nothing about any of those things. I'm like, what are we doing on this one? What do I have to do? So
yeah, we should go to that part too. Also, Spartan has obstacles in case you weren't aware. What about the obstacles? What did you prepare at all? I'm sure that your friends at the gym did mention that there were going to be 60 obstacles, everything you'd have to do twice. How was that for you? I mean, even something as simple as like the Herc hoist, maybe you're not training to do something and lifting that amount of weight. And I know the men's weight especially is quite a bit more, and it was soaking wet. So I've felt those things dry and I felt those things wet. That was probably a heavier one that I've had to lift. So what did you do to prepare, or how did that go for you? Did you land any of the obstacles?
Yeah, so I only failed on a couple of the obstacles. I just pushed through it. The gym's helped me a lot with my strength and conditioning, my fit, my pulse, and just keep my heart rate up. And you just mentally push through it, and then you have all your partners there waiting for you. Like they show you the technique, and once they're finished, you just wait for each other and you just push through.
You mentally push through. And I want to just point that out because I feel like a lot of new Spartan racers will approach an obstacle and decide they're not going to do it. Like before they've tried, they decided they can't. So hear him when he says you decide you're going to do it. And again, like maybe ignorance was bliss in this scenario, guys, but it's such a powerful thing when you just approach an obstacle and say, yeah, I can do this. I've trained for this. And I guarantee you'll be surprised out there when your training comes to play on the course. Mental aspect is a big thing, and just making that decision to try, but you didn't hit all of them. So again, on the topic of, mental awareness, how did you just kind of brush that off, knowing or not knowing how long you had left in the race, and not let that affect you for the rest of the race? Like 60 obstacles, it's hard for an elite to not fail in those conditions, a single obstacle.
Everything was wet too, by the way. Like everything was wet or muddy the entire time. So
right. So how is a rookie, having never really done any of those things, just been okay with failure in a sense?
I made sure the next time I went and did it, I talked to people because I had a couple K to run with them. So I asked them, hey, how do you approach this? Like the one that was spinning, the bars that were spinning, like I tried to go forward, it just didn't work. So I asked, what do you do? And they say, oh, you have to go backwards. And I actually completed it that time. So once you do, and you ask someone for help and you make it happen.
So the next time you got to that obstacle, were you in your head, or did you just approach it with the mindset that like, I know how to do it this time and I'm just going to get it done?
Just mentally be strong and just, you can't fail. You have to go and do it because nobody wants to run that extra couple like 100 meters and falling through waterfalls and stuff, or run up the hills at Mont Tremblant. It already hurt enough. So yeah, and it was a big success being able to finish it too. And yeah.
So what would your advice be for, say, someone racing? Because I think, self-doubt is a big thing in sport right now, and just being able to brush it off. Like, we all really want to like nail the obstacles, and you know what? It doesn't happen all the time. So like, what's your best advice for someone who is having a tough race? They fail an obstacle. What would you recommend they do to brush it off to finish the race anyways?
Just know that there is a finish line, and you just push through, catch up to the group that you're just with, and it takes a little extra momentum. And talk to people about it. They'll mentally help you out there. Everyone's there is very supportive. So yeah, just keep your head down and just dig.
And so what are you going to do next time? And are you going to race next time? Are you going to do the Mt Tremblant again, the 50K? It sounded like you might be going for an ultra trifecta as well. If that's the case, what are you going to do differently this time?
Oh, this time I'm definitely going to have a sack. I'm going to have a lot more food. My shoes are kind of broken in now. They have 50K on them. So maybe I'll put a couple more on them. Do some hill climbs and and pace myself out. Go try to negative split. Go faster at the end this time.
Have a little bit of a plan, maybe just even like a minor plan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now having jumped into your first ever race, Spartan race, as a 50K Ultra, would you recommend that for someone else?
Sure, why not? You can mentally, if you're strong enough to do it, then do it. It's a great, if you can mentally do that and go through it, it will test your limits. I think there was a 47% fail rate, but it really tested you. But you got to push through it. Your family and all your friends are there. Like our whole gym is there, just supporting you at the end. You hear them yelling. You just push through and you just do it. And when you get that medal at the end, it means a lot. When it says the 50K finisher, like I saw a person with like 13 or 14 trifectas, and I think that's amazing that they've done that many times. And they saw my shirt and they're congratulating me for finishing. I'm like, well, you've done 14 of these, but they're saying it's a whole different aspect. And through the whole sport, no matter what race you're doing, that's amazing. Just to be out there doing it, it's absolutely a great accomplishment.
And it's so true. There's so many ways that you can push yourself through Spartan. Like you could be someone like Graham, who we had on last week, who's going for 20 trifectas by the end of the year. You can be someone who does a couple ultras in the year. Maybe you do a trifecta weekend, or maybe you just try to go out and do a trifecta this year. So there's like so many aspects and ways, and you're going to meet people who go, oh my goodness, you did your first trifecta. That's amazing. And you're going to go, but you did an ultra. It doesn't matter. It's their journey, and you're pumped for their Spartan journey because we all know what it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think anybody showing up to the starting line of any Spartan race should be celebrated, because it takes courage to get there. But it also, as we've talked about, like, he's a pretty seasoned athlete, like, let's be honest. So, I mean, for him to show up to the starting line of a 50K Ultra is not normal, let's be honest. He does have an athletic background that probably allowed for him to physically push through. But the grit and the tenacity that it takes for anybody at any Spartan race, because you usually pick one that's going to meet you kind of where you're at and challenge you where you're at physically, is what it comes down to. Like, it doesn't matter if he does a 50K and I hammer out a beast, because for each of us, it's a different hard for each of us. But I think you choose what you can mentally and physically push yourself from start to finish, and whether that's a 5K, a 10K, a beast, an ultra, a trifecta, like you said, just go out there, get it done, give it your all, and see what you've got left in the tank at the end.
Yeah. Don't be scared. Do your 5K if that's all you can do, and if that's all you can do, go test yourself. Go do the 5, and then next time try the 10. Don't be scared. Just push through it.
So
exactly.
What's next on the agenda of Spartan? We've talked about maybe this is happening. Okay, what's really happening? Actually, first, let's talk about what's happening in July. You've got a race coming up in the other world of Spartan here.
I do have a race coming up.
Who are you partnering up with? He's got a pretty big race on the agenda here at the end of July.
I do. I'm going to be competing in the DECA Fit.
Teams.
In the teams, and I have a partner, Kevin.
Kevin Gregory.
We're going to try to So I've got a little bit of running to do.
Oh, so you guys are going to be going for a record, obviously, because that he's a gym owner. Maybe give a little Amber, you know him quite well.
So if you don't know Kevin Gregory in DECA, in the world of DECA, go look him up. He owns Underdog Fitness in Connecticut. And, you know, Kevin is the type of guy you want on your team in a DECA Strong, a DECA Mile, or a DECA Fit. He's got the second fastest ever DECA Strong time. So we just found him a really good runner.
I was going to say, I bet Mark's going to do all the running parts.
So he's not stopping this whole Spartan, momentum now. So anyways, he's gonna dabble into the DECA Fit, go for the record with Kevin Gregory. I think they've got a really good shot. 25 minutes and change is the current record. So they've got their splits worked out. They're gonna try and go sub 25.
Nice.
Okay, so the reason we asked, obviously, you to be Kevin's runner. One, we have this ongoing thing. Pure underdogs love to align. And I honestly just couldn't think of a person faster at the DECA Strong movements, and I couldn't think of a person faster at running, because we talked about your background in running, but you specialize in 5K, which for those of you who don't know, a DECA Fit is 500 meters preceding each DECA zone, which ultimately results in 5 kilometers of running at the end of the event. When you compete as a DECA team, the only thing you're required to do together is the first 500-meter run and the last 500-meter run. Everything else is divide and conquer however you choose. So when Steeds finally jumped in and, we warmed him up to the Spartan community, I honestly couldn't think of a faster, better pairing than these two, knowing Kevin's background and his background. So let's talk about that. We talked about your running. What was let's go way back. I know you're not in your prime anymore, but you were fast. What was your fastest 5K?
The fastest 5K was 13:46.
13:46.
Yeah. Okay, so just to put it in perspective, you guys, Kevin Gregory's fastest strong time is 11:10. Don't quote me on that. Maybe 11:11. In and around there. Okay? So we just need someone who can run approximately 5K in 14 to 15 minutes, because Kev's going to have some rest, which means he's going to smash those zones a little bit faster. So if you think about it, we're going to bring his DECA Strong time down. Mm-hmm. So that leaves a good chunk of time for someone who's pretty speedy over here. So 5K was your specialty,
yep.
But you were just fast in other realms of running. What else? What were some other splits you've done?
My 800 fastest split was 1:53. My 1500 was a 3:44, and I won a race out in Oregon. And my 3K was an 8:03.
Oh my goodness. Well, this will be a very exciting July event.
And then what's after that? Because you got some more Spartan in the schedule. Give us some here. Everybody wants to know what you're up to after that.
So originally I wasn't going to do DECAs. Amber got me involved in the DECA. When she had it at her event, I came out and watched it. Now I can't get enough of it. So now I'm going to be doing a couple DECAs. Going to be looking at doing the Philly one as well. Mm-hmm. And I think there's going to be another Spartan coming up in September as well.
Killington. Yeah. This is what I'm trying to get at.
So and then going to do
okay. What are you doing in Killington?
I'm going to be doing another ultra.
Yay! That's so exciting.
So, in the grand scheme of things, when we asked, would you do it again? And he's wasting no time. He's
doing it. And Killington is, it's just as hard, if not harder. I talked to people who had done both the Mt Tremblant and Killington, and it was kind of 50-50. Some would say Killington's harder. Some would say Tremblant is harder, but Killington has more elevation. So get that hill climbing done for yourself.
And nutrition. Okay. And nutrition.
And some nutrition. Yes. You should go, and everybody interested should go follow all of the Spartan pages, because you can search in those pages. And I mean the Facebook community groups. So there's a Spartan Ultra page. There is Spartan Canada community. You can actually type in a search of whatever you're looking for, nutrition, and it'll come up with previous posts, or you can just ask questions. People are really, they're just as great online as they are on the course. So you can ask there.
So after Killington,
Mhm.
what's after that?
Oh, gonna be doing Blue Mountain as well. Gonna be doing my first trifecta there.
Nice.
1 to 5 and to 10. Yeah. So some big plans.
So there we have it. We have another person has I guess drank the Kool-Aid, the Spartan Kool-Aid that we all did at the very beginning. You try one race. As you're doing it, you might be saying, I don't think I'll ever do this again. And then you wait 24 hours and you've literally just signed up for every race available in the next year.
Absolutely.
Pretty much. That's within driving distance from it.
Yeah. That's kind of how it works. Well,
Yeah.
that was amazing. This was so awesome getting to hear about your story and finding out about your running background and how funny of an approach. I shouldn't say funny because it was a great approach. It worked for you. You finished. The goal was finishing. And I just hope for you that you finish it more comfortably next time.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, I can't say I'd recommend this approach to the average everyday athlete out there. Definitely, like Jonathan and Leslie said, maybe put a little more time and effort into your nutrition and your training and your trialing of your stuff. But again, this is just a really remarkable story of ignorance is bliss and tenacity and doing hard shit like we do in the Spartan world.
Mhm.
Last question here. Not talking ultra, just like any Spartan race. What would your best piece of advice be for a brand new first time racer?
Just dig down and don't stop. Don't quit. That's my advice. Is just everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone's hurting, and you just push through it. Just be strong out there.
There you
Well,
have
that's absolutely great advice. And I hope that that follows you to the DECA Fit because that will also be another painful event in a different way.
Absolutely. So if anybody wants to follow your journey on Instagram, do you even know what your Instagram handle is?
He doesn't even know where his bucket is.
Oh, I found that pretty quick. I was hungry for my banana and my oatmeal.
Okay, sorry, say that one more time.
Yeah,
so if
so
anybody wants to follow you on Instagram, his handle is
msteed7.
msteeds, S-T-E-E-D-S. I know a lot of people think it's Steve. Not Steve. Anyway, okay, with all that said, guys, thank you for coming on
Thank you for having
and
me.
sharing your story. I am positive that it is going to inspire someone out there listening to this podcast to just honestly don't overthink it, guys. No, whether you're showing up to a 5K, a 10K, a 50K, whatever that looks like for you, just like don't overthink it. Just get yourself to the starting line. Just believe that you've got what it takes to finish what you started, dig deep, and get it done. So if you guys enjoyed this story, first of all, give us a shout out in the comments to what an epic stream of events this was. Give us a follow, make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast, because I have a feeling someone out there is going to be inspired by this. So make sure you guys share this so we can keep it going. And like always, stay tuned. We've got some exciting content coming up.